The theater of the unexpected was on full display on Saturday in Brooklyn, New York, as Big Time Boxing brought us the Devin Haney Ryan Garcia pay-per-view and a stream of expectations coming in surrounding a bunch of different questions. Is Ryan Garcia crazy, or might this perhaps be one of the most ambitious, absurd, and ridiculous troll jobs in the history of modern professional sports? Brian Campbell with you, CBS Sports. Instant analysis time to react to all things Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. That just went down. No title at stake in this one because Ryan Garcia missed weight by over 3 pounds, which played into just a wild and, like I said, absurd fight week, which really compounded an absurd fight build for the 25-year-old Garcia. But when all is said and done, even ineligible to win the 140-pound WBC title that Haney brought in, this was the biggest night in the professional career of Ryan Garcia. A monster upset worthy of upset of the year, and an incredible fight that almost had no business being that good. Might just be your front runner for 2024's boxing fight of the year, as Ryan Garcia scores an almost improbable majority decision upset over the unbeaten Haney, the pound for pound rated giant, who's coming off of an undisputed run to the championship at lightweight and then taking a title at 140 late last year by demolishing Regis Prograis. He was as big as an 8-1 betting favorite coming in, and for a lot of this fight, Haney showed you exactly why. But this was Ryan Garcia's night. Wow. In the history of the unexpected, in the history of big upsets, you just couldn't have necessarily seen this coming. And seen this coming. Now, Garcia by knockout, from a betting standpoint, turned out to be really the only bet that made a lot of sense, given the weirdness coming into this fight, and given, let's be honest, the large gap in technical skill between the two and in ring IQ. But Ryan Garcia did have in his back pocket the confidence of having split 6 amateur fights with Devin Haney between the ages of 9 and 16. The difference, of course, is since that point of age 16, their growth is taking on such different dimensions. Stunted growth for Ryan, who became an overnight social media sensation in a lot of ways, 11 million followers on Instagram alone, but didn't progress from a skill standpoint like Devin Haney did. But once Ryan Garcia was able to lock in with that left hook, use the speed and that ridiculous reflex time to be able to drop Devin Haney 3 times and put on just an incredible rally over the second half, it ultimately came down to a math equation. How did I score it? In the end, 112-112, even a draw. But what people need to understand, especially those who are boxing casuals, certainly not the most ideal scoring system that judges have to work with the 10-9 must system, but it does take the emotion out of it. Did Ryan Garcia win this fight from a visual standpoint? Without question. Won the story of the fight, won the actual fight in the end when the judges read the scorecards of 112-112 on one card, 114-110 for Garcia on the second, and 115-109 for Garcia on the third. So even though I scored it even, does that mean I think Devin Haney deserved to have won that fight? No, it's a close fight. What scoring comes down to is you remove the emotion. And I get a lot of people online saying, well, shouldn't Ryan's power punches over equal the consistent jab and ring generalship of Haney? Sure. The problem for Ryan was, outside of the 3 rounds in which he scored knockdowns, which were 7, 10, and 11, and a very close 12th round, which I did give to Garcia for putting on enough pressure late, we didn't see a lot of great offense from him. We didn't see anything but sort of a master class in between those knockouts of what Devin Haney does best: control the terms of the fight, back up Ryan Garcia with jabs. Ryan Garcia got off to such a fast start in round 1, hurting Haney with that check left hook, that textbook punch that he lands so well. But Haney's adjustments were brilliant. Looping in, getting in underneath the right hand consistently of Garcia to put pressure on him, back him up, and open up lanes for both hands. You got to see the full arsenal of what makes Devin Haney great, even though he was never really able to hurt Garcia or put him into really any type of extreme peril outside of that one big left hook that he landed in round 3 that got Garcia's attention, made him punch his gloves together and sort of angrily want to get it back. What you saw was just technical brilliance from Haney. We knew that coming in. Not a big puncher, but the reasons why so many people still picked Haney by knockout and why that became the most logical bet coming in even though the value was always going to be there, and Garcia, the huge underdog, getting the potential knockout or pulling knockdowns together, which he ultimately did to pull the upset, is that Haney's just too technical, too brilliant. And what we had seen previously from Garcia with a flash chin, he was floored by Luke Campbell, even though he got up and won that fight. He was dropped twice against Gervonta Tank Davis last year and suffered the criticism of those, including his own promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, ultimately saying he could have gotten up. He wimped out. He leaned too heavily on a pre-existing rib condition coming in. But the major difference in that fight last April, the Tank Davis Ryan Garcia fight that brought their stars together and exceeded pay-per-view expectations by a lot, producing more than 1 million buys in an era where that is extremely difficult to do, is ultimately the skills won out. Ryan's inadequacies defensively in particular really showcased. And don't forget about the rehydration clause in that fight, which not only gave Tank Davis a key advantage, I think Ryan, in realizing that he needed to accept that rehydration clause just to make the fight happen, also, I think in hindsight, learned a key and valuable lesson that you can't give away advantages like that in the negotiation. So what we saw instead was Ryan taking back power. Now, this taking back power was done as, again, absurdly and controversially as you could expect, by him seemingly purposely coming in and missing weight at the 140-pound limit. Knowing that Devin Haney rehydrates so aggressively and is almost as big as a middleweight when he steps in on fight night, Ryan Garcia made sure that he was the bigger fighter. But let's be fair, all of the things that we thought would lead Ryan Garcia to destruction inevitably, right? A key mistake, the fact that when he does square up and throw, despite the speed and power coming in, he keeps that chin out and there for the hanging so directly. He largely erased out those errors, never allowed them to become a major setback that would deter him. Tank Davis's power deterred Ryan Garcia from coming forward and being himself. In this case, Haney did not have the same level of power, although he has the delivery system, the accuracy, the speed, the knowledge to set it up. I mean, you got to give Haney his flowers for a couple of reasons here, even in a loss. And I do think, by the way, he will get a rematch from it, and I think it'll be a big deal, big money fight for DAZN, no question about it. But in this case, ultimately, I think Haney took Garcia lightly from all the ridiculousness that played into this promotion. And I think he underestimated the combination of speed and power. And I think, like a lot of us, and oh, by the way, for anyone to say, gotcha, boxing media, you guys missed what Ryan was trying to do. I mean, it was never lost on us that this was the attempt of a massive troll job. It was only the idea, though, that this is so absurd and so ambitious that if Ryan isn't outright crazy, then ultimately he might be crazy enough to even think of something like this and try it, to act so aggressively like he's a 1997 Mike Tyson and threatening to bite in the ring and showing up with the beer bottle at the ceremonial weigh-in after he purposely missed so badly. In hindsight, yeah, that does make him look like a bit of a calculated genius. We've seen that move done before. Floyd Mayweather against Juan Manuel Marquez to gain that advantage of purposely missing weight and not cutting down to the rehydration clause. We've seen that at times. Danny Jacobs nearly used that to pull an upset on Gennady Golovkin when he sort of, again, purposely came in, paid the fee. In hindsight, you do look at that as potentially brilliant. But Haney was just caught off guard. That Ryan wasn't going to do exactly what I just said was the expectation. We knew Ryan would be dangerous early. Everybody knew that. Haney knew that. He fought him 6 times as an amateur. Ryan is gifted from the standpoint of reaction time, speed, the power that comes from his speed. But the reason why Ryan's troll job worked, and why you can say it worked, I mean, outside of just the proof of seeing him win, is you saw how ill-equipped ultimately Haney looked in handling it once Ryan Garcia made those adjustments in the second half and leaned on his power. And this is what's crazy. Ryan comes out in round 1, lands the big left hook, wobbles Haney, and we go, okay, this is the early storm we predicted, but holy crap, this storm seems pretty serious. But the poise Ryan Garcia showed after hurting Haney, not going in for the finish necessarily, looking to keep his poise from the outside. These are all characteristics of Derek James's teaching that I thought, because of how crazy Ryan was acting, and because Derek James was barely doing media ahead of this, we just all assumed Ryan's not going to be able to absorb it. To be fair, Ryan Garcia has a history of not necessarily listening to his trainers. That's why he's bounced around. Eddie Reynoso and Team Canelo, Joe Goosen for the Tank Davis fight, and a few around that. And now we're on to Derek James, who's world-class trainer, but that's not going to matter if the fighter doesn't put it together. I'm going to give Haney respect for the chin he showed in making it to that 12th round and having a shot on the scorecards, having an argument to have pulled off a backdoor draw. Again, I get the visuals. Ryan Garcia was the bigger puncher throughout. He played the role of the bigger man. He was almost cold in how he delivered those shots late. He deserves to have gotten the win, but it's not an emotional vote at the end. The judges don't tally up all 12 rounds once the fight's over. They're given their score after each round. And in this case, Ryan Garcia, again, outside of rounds 1, 7, 10, and 11, where he scored knockdowns, and then, of course, that 12th round that I gave him to in a close round, there was a lot of circling away. Haney deserves credit for how he made the ring IQ adjustments, like I said, getting under Ryan's left hook, basically taking that punch away from him until round 7, when Ryan found the confidence in the openings to land it again. Haney was crowding him. Haney was hitting and holding, mauling on the inside, doing all sort of the veteran tricks that you would need. But Ryan Garcia didn't just overcome an absolutely brilliant opponent of pound for pound, near perfect status entering this fight, right? He overcame referee Harvey Dock not having a really great night, to be fair. And the controversy around Dock's performance really settled on that 7th round. From rounds 2 through 6, Haney had almost completely controlled and dominated and was making Ryan look amateurish. The difference, though, between Haney and Tank was not just the fact that Tank had the power to discipline Haney, but look, if it's not boxing math, we can't say we know necessarily what Tank versus Haney will one day look like because of this performance. But Ryan showed so much more poise, class, patience, confidence than we'd ever seen before. And Haney, once he got hurt in that second half, although he showed a good chin and hanging on and staying in the fight, we never quite seen him really overwhelmed to that degree. So it's crazy what this fight, this upset of the year, does to reset so many expectations. Haney was nearly untouchable. He was on his way to becoming a potential pound for pound king once the Crawfords, the Inoues were in the Canelos were going to sort of be done. You know, we got Fury Usyk coming up, which will certainly have a say in the overall pound for pound race. But this sets Devin Haney back big in a lot of ways. You hope he's going to get the rematch. I still think he's going to have a tremendous Hall of Fame career, even, to be fair with you. But in the boxing short term, what have you done for us lately? You have to come in here and mute a lot of what you thought coming in, because he was overwhelmed by this suddenly slick gunslinger whose rabid behavior, again, I'm not going to do the whole, well, Ryan, we were wrong, because we had reasons to believe all of the things we believed. In fact, Ryan was purposely being as absurd as possible in every single category, from showing constantly on social media, apparently the illusion that he was on drugs and drinking regularly, to, I know he was passing the mental health exams behind the scenes. And obviously that's what's important from the New York State Athletic Commission doing their due diligence. And even Golden Boy and DAZN, who both have been criticized at times for the idea of this fight still going on. Obviously they saw what they needed to see behind the scenes. And I think even Friday, right after that ceremonial weigh-in, a video leaked of Ryan on FaceTime with Jake Paul, where Ryan suddenly poised and using his regular voice. This was, I think, an extension of Ryan Garcia's personality, his craziness leading into this fight. But now we realize it was very purposeful and calculated. Is it as suave and sly as what Muhammad Ali did to Sonny Liston? No, it's more of like what Ricardo Mayorga did to sort of freeze and ultimately stop Vernon Forrest in their first fight to become the unified welterweight champion in such a big upset. And he won the rematch, by the way, by decision too, which is going to be the challenge for Garcia if in fact this big super fight is going to be run back next. But everything we said about Ryan Garcia not really having the ring IQ and being more an athlete, being more in love with social media and fame and all that, I still think a lot of that is true. But man, do you have to give him his flowers for setting up and delivering this absurd ploy, and for showing in-ring qualities that we've never seen from him, and certainly not against guys at this level. You can show those qualities against B and C fighters. And Ryan Garcia, because he's so incredible with the ability to land those big, fast, ridiculous left hooks that you don't see coming at any point in the fight that can change the momentum of the fight, he used to lean on that more as like, that's my only way of doing it. This fight, he put more poise together than we have seen before. He 100% deserves credit in that regard for that. And if you don't think this wasn't a save of his career and the public belief in who his true character, this is something I've never seen before. If he loses this fight, now look, let's say he would have lost a decision here. You would have had a lot of people screaming about the broken scoring system. You'd have a lot of people screaming about Harvey Dock. I didn't even finish my thoughts, by the way, in round 7 about what Harvey Dock did. We'll get to that in a second. You would have had a lot of people saying that, but you still would have said, wow, Ryan's flashy and he's dangerous, but too bad he couldn't put together a complete game and get the win. What he did was just absurd. The poise he showed in the second half of this fight against somebody as good as Haney, I get it. Haney's not the big puncher that he maybe looked like on the way up when he look at his knockout of Antonio Moran. Just ridiculous. He had a few of those on the rise up. But when you're that accurate and when Ryan has a history of not being, tough enough to finish the Tank fight and all the criticism he took, you just didn't see this exact fallout, this exact finish coming. But that's the craziness. That's the theater of boxing. That's why when done right, these ploys can work. Ryan lowered all of our collective expectations, including Devin Haney. I don't think Haney was caught up in, oh my God, this guy is so crazy. He's going to be more dangerous than I thought. I think Haney fell exactly where we all fell, which is, man, this kid needs help. But now he's going to need help figuring out how to spend the money he's going to get from these huge fights that he earned from doing this. Even if he would have been knocked out early, he still is such a draw and a attention seeker that he would have been in big fights. Now he's almost in the driver's seat in this group, right in and around 135, 140. They'll all become welterweights, of course, one day. But all these young stars, the Haneys, the Tanks, the Shakurs, all of those, Ryan's now in the driver's seat here after the attention he brought on himself in here. So quickly, round 7 saw referee Harvey Dock jump in at a rough time. You get the knockdown from Garcia that changes. Okay. Does he have enough time to rally in this fight? He drops Haney on a big left hook, a money left hook. But Harvey Dock taking a point from Ryan Garcia shortly after that for hitting on the break with no warning, I got an issue with that. Haney was holding, desperately holding. And that holding, that aggressive holding, led to Ryan sort of pushing Haney off of him when he was being held, which led to those 2 extra knockdowns in round 7, which I think were rightfully scored slips. So I'm not going to get on Doc for that. But taking away that point really potentially was a setup to kill Garcia's momentum. Not that I think Doc was purposely doing it. I think it was just the wrong decision in the moment. But I never thought Garcia would keep the poise, especially what happened immediately after that in rounds 8 and 9, when Haney just got his legs back, put his head down, got inside on Garcia, landed big shots. But then you get the knockdown from Garcia in round 10. The 1-2 in the corner to drop Haney was just, whoa. And then you get that big knockdown again in round 11. It was a 2-punch combo. He missed with the left hook, but he came right back with the straight lead right, the left hook over the top. It's incredible that Haney finished the fight. Suddenly people are cheering for Ryan in round 11 when he was getting what I call X-Pac go home heat previously before that and all the antics leading up to this fight. Well, the joke's on us, and it's an ambitious, insane joke, but it worked. It played out. Wow. So it's your upset of the year. It might be your fight of the year. And Ryan Garcia is suddenly in a position, if he can package another big win over the second half, to be in the fighter of the year running. So a lot has to happen, and nobody expected this. But it did happen. This was game 7. DAZN billed it as that throughout the build because of their splitting 6 amateur fights. This was the one that mattered. It was a really nice marketing ploy. But Ryan showed up and fought like it really mattered. Do I love that he walks into the arena with a shirt that says murder is the only thing on my mind and RIP Devin Haney? No, but it was the final move on this large chessboard of ridiculousness that led to us suspending the belief that this was possible. That led to us heavily leaning on the things we knew about Ryan that could always prevent him from truly becoming elite. He came over the top of that by actually leaning on his strengths and diminishing the amount of mistakes that he made. We can't forget that from rounds 2 through 6, he was absolutely handled. That in rounds 8 and 9, he was more or less actually, easily handled by a boxer who was able to impose his will by being smart, by having all the boxes checked. But he didn't have it checked for that left hook in the end, because that was something that continuously surprised Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia wins on this night. He deserves to win. His quotes afterwards were a mixture of the kind of victory lap that he would give him the room to do it, right? You know, he says when they asked him who believed this could happen, he said, God did, my heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, I give you all the glory, Garcia said. But then he said, come on, guys, you really thought I was crazy? You guys lost your own mind. Hey, I'm not going to counter that because you pulled off the win. You deserve that right. And then Ryan said, we as the media overrate everything and we hate on him because he's pretty. That's effed up, he says. I don't think that's true, Ryan. But again, have your victory lap because you earned it. You went in there against a future Hall of Famer, one of the best boxers in the game today, one of the few guys who can ever get sort of Floyd Mayweather comparisons. And you found the holes in Haney's game and exposed him. And in a crazy way, boxing's better off for it. What a night for Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, by the way, who's going to take this momentum into Canelo versus Munguia as they co-promote Munguia on May 4th. This will have to be run back at some point. We know Oscar wants to match Ryan against Teofimo Lopez. The amount of fights you can make, it's crazy. Will Ryan always be vulnerable to extremely elite boxers? Yes. But if he can continue down this road with Derek James, they're figuring something out. A wild night at the office. Ryan Garcia by majority decision over Devin Haney. Hope you enjoyed it. Brian Campbell, check me out in the future. Wow, wow, and wow.